Hey there guys, today I'm gonna teach you and walk you through the Dawnbreaker dungeon. I've did a 10 and recorded it, and I'm gonna comment on it and show you, well, what happened, what should have happened, what was right, what was wrong. It's a smooth run, but I'll explain a little bit of mechanics and whatnot. So, to start off, Key's just starting. Just promoting the tank to leader. Usually you want to do that because some people have some fancy UIs and whatnot, or macros to misdirect on the tank. That's like the reason why you do that. Now, dungeon starts pretty standard. At the start you want to pull like everything around here. This guy costs. I interrupted because usually the tank should interrupt it, so that they all get packed up. Now we just go do a lot of damage. What can we see in this pack, right? There's at least two casters. There's this guy, and there's like this big dude. The big dude is gonna put some circles on two people. That's why it's important for them not to be stacked. And when you get the circle, you might want to use a defensive. See, for example, here I had used my Dark Pact when it was focusing me. As you can see over here, right? It has this Tormenting Ray thing. This is the thing that just does damage. Also has a big circle. Don't be scared about it. This one has to be dispelled, right? If it explodes, it's not that great, right? Okay. Back at it. You see, that's the Stygian Seed. It's on someone, gets insta-dispelled. Everything's fine. Now, you also have those random mobs here that just cast stuff. You want to interrupt that. They just cast some bolts at you, right? Do damage. You don't want that to pass. Great start. Okay, next, we're just walking up here. The tank wants to grab the pack in the middle, put it to the pack on the side, right? That's why he waits a bit. It's also important to interrupt this tiny guy here, right? If you don't interrupt this tiny guy, he's gonna stand around here and cast, and nobody's gonna be happy because nobody's gonna do damage. You also have some random mobs casting in the back, because that's just how the boat works. And you also have two big dudes. One of the big dudes is like the big dude from before, right? It's just gonna put the thing that gets dispelled, and it's just gonna put the circle on people that does damage. The other one is a commander. This commander just slaps the tank, and once every 30 seconds casts something that buffs the entire mobs. You don't want that to pass, but you don't want to really hold your interrupts, because you want to interrupt the night bolts so you don't get slammed down, right? So usually that one should have a ranged on it. So like if you're a ranged player, you could commit yourself. I'm just gonna interrupt the commanders. Whatever those other guys doing, it's not my business. Or if you're a melee, you can also do that, but it's not that critical, right? Let me see if I can show you. It's this one, the commander, right? It does an absorb shield and inflicts some AoE damage. Not a serious cost, but absorbs on mobs are fun because they just live longer and wreck you longer, right? Of course, the other mobs, like the shadow mages, right, with their Nightbolt, you don't want them to chain cast this, right? So this has to be stopped. Snaring Shadow, as you can see, also does quite a bit of damage and gives a slow. So if you have a choice between interrupting a Nightbolt or a Snaring Shadows, of course you go for the Snaring Shadows, but usually you should just try to stop everything. No, probably easy to understand. Right, we just kill those. Me with the range interrupt, I get the commander. So this pack should just die. We spend some time here, takes a bit of time. Now we just go on to the ship, right? This right here is a good spot because if the tank isn't fast enough and you land in the middle of the ship over there, you're gonna aggro. So as a DPS, it's smarter to go here, but it's kind of riskier because, as you have seen here, I fell through the ship. You can fall through the ship, but if you fall through the ship, you just eat back up and go back down. It's kind of annoying. That other space is what I've seen other people do. It might be better. You might fall through a ship less over there. And of course, there's like those two corners, but it's kind of risky. Anyway, this pack is pretty simple. You got a big spider that just spams web bolts. Those web bolts do quite a bit of damage, but you need like 2 or 3 people to interrupt them because he just chain casts them. You also have a shadow mage, which is what we had before. And sometimes this mob will put a cocoon on someone, does a lot of damage. They have to be spot healed, like the healer has to spot heal the cocoon. The cocoon guy ideally should, have a defensive up when that happens, because it's always good to use a defensive when you're taking a lot of unavoidable targeted damage. It's kind of what defensives are for. Let's see, are they the same? Shadow mage, yeah. No, this one is the same as the ones we had before. Let's see. Fight starts. As you can see here on the platter add-on, you can see the tiny little cooldown here when he's gonna cast his cocoon. Alright. Just see, it casts it on Jamita, right? That's our healer. Boom. They go away. See, they turned pale, so this means that they used Fade or whatever the priests have. See, this is the debuff. It went off on me. It's doing some moderate damage. It's not a lot. We're pretty tanky. We're overgearing this. It doesn't really matter, but ideally you kind of want to interrupt that one. Obviously, just gets annihilated by the Frost Death Knight. It's fine. Next part is we got the other ship, right? This time I saw the tank is already here, so I just landed. Here we have one big spider and one commander. The commander, you already know, puts the shield. The range should interrupt it, right? Fine. Those packs should not really pose that big of a problem. What happens next is we go to the boss. Now, this is a pretty interesting boss. It seems like it does a lot of things, but really, it doesn't really do anything. You just dodge stuff. What it does is, it's gonna put a debuff on someone that has to be dispelled, and then that puts like an absorb heal on everyone that keeps on ticking them down until it's removed by healing. So, yeah, healer should dispel and AoE heal. Another thing it does, whenever it does the spinny thing, you'll see what the spinny thing is in a bit, it does a lot of damage to the tank and a lot of damage to everyone. Just straight up, boom. So, maybe have some minor defensives for that, and have like some self-heal if you have it for the absorb. Other than that, it's just gonna select 2 players and put some puddles that expand, right? Those puddles do a lot of damage. The tank will have to move the boss away from the puddles if they're put near the boss. So, since it prioritizes ranged, it's ideal that the range always stay away from the boss before those are cast, and then go inside of the boss because it's easier to dodge the spinning thing while you're inside of the boss. After the spinning thing happens, the range should reposition outside as not to mess up things for everyone else. Right, it also casts something. Let's see, so we have the sequence is the explosion, right? That's like the vote. It does the beam first, see? Beam ends up casting, right? Tank took a lot of damage here, right? When the beam ended the cast. Let's see this again. Alright, ended up casting, boom. See? Tank HP low. Everyone else, we also took some damage, but it really wasn't as much, yeah? Let me see how much damage it's supposed to do to everyone. it here in the dungeon journal, right? My apologies. See, obsidian beam, right? It does 5 million to the tank and 450k to all other players, so basically nothing to them. That's why you didn't really see anything go on there, but know that it's not a lot of damage. You don't really need a defensive for that, but just know that it's gonna come. So if you're like really low, be aware of it. Right, that's the beam, right? Range can just move, melee just stay melee. And now the range have to stay away, right? This is the debuff, by the way, right? You saw the boss cast the debuff, it was on the mage. You can still see it here. And this was the circles, right? The healer was there, mage was here, everything's fine. The tank pre-moves the boss away because those circles will expand. It wasn't that necessary, but it's still a nice practice to have. Alright, the debuff was dispelled, and now as you can see there is a very tiny heal absorb on me. If it's not healed, but it is healed because the healer is on point, it's gonna tick me down and do a lot of damage. One thing I want to add with this debuff, you usually don't want to take off after you kill the boss or after you go to the intermission while that debuff is on you. You want to heal up and then go out, because if you go out with that debuff still on you, you're gonna just tickle down and possibly just die, right? So it's important for both healers to stay behind and the damage that still have it to stay behind during the intermission and end phase to clear the debuff if it overlaps like that. Now, obviously, you have self-heal, you have a health pot, so you can remove it yourself, is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter, right? So you should not be dying to that, even if the healer just forgets about you. Okay. This was the whole fight, by the way. Now it just repeats. It put the debuff after the beam, and we're just gonna have the same sequence. Alright. Now, at 50%, this boss is gonna become undamageable, right? Right about now. See, right now you can't do any damage to it. It just doesn't take any damage. You want to mount up and fly away, it's gonna do this big ass orb, and you don't want to be caught in it because you'll die. Now, if you hit the big ass orb, like you can be in this expanding thing, it won't kill you. It only kills you when the cast finishes. So don't be afraid to stand back a little and heal up if you have the debuff, for example. It's not gonna kill you if it touches you. It looks dangerous, but it's not. Okay, see? Touched me, nothing happened. You can take those orbs to give you a little bit more of a buff so that you don't die from standing in the darkness too much, but you should be aiming to instantly return to the platform as soon as the thing finishes. So like if you can glide super close but not too close as to die to the orb and then just eat inside, that's like the best way. When you eat inside, just try to interrupt the boss because it started to chain casting shadow bolts, kind of annoying. But then the fight resumes, except this time around it does 4 beams instead of 3. I don't know why. Same principle, right? Again, be careful where you're standing as ranged. See here, I see the collapsing mag, so I move out. The mage did not move out, so now the tank has to move the boss, right? Because you don't want the boss stuck inside of this circle while it does the beam. Right, now it does the beam. It's got 4 instead of 3. Pretty easy to dodge. See here, this is why you don't want the boss too close to the circle, because he's just gonna expand and someone might end up stuck like me. Now, as you can see, there is a tiny triangle and I can stand on it and not get damaged. Obviously, if something like this happens to you and you have no choice, you're stuck between the beam and the circle, what you do is you pop a defensive and you go for the circle to stand in the circle every single time. If you go through the beam, you're just dead. You can't also blink through it, you can't do a lot of displacement stuff because this fight is a bit more complicated being on a flying ship, right? So do not cross the beam ever, okay? always, it's better to die from the circle and just die there than to die from the beam, because at least with the circle you have a chance. With the beam, no chance, unless of course you have like an immunity. If you have an immunity, then you're immune, you're chilling. And this is kind of the fight, right? Now the debuff comes up. Now I realize probably that I should move, but the tank moves himself, so we're fine. Bit on the oopsie side. Okay. Now we beat it. It starts casting again. Checking to not have the debuff and moving a bit. Now after this, the tank will go down somewhere, right? You have to follow him. There's a lot of routes you can take in this dungeon. If he shared it at the start, you'll know where exactly he wants to be. But generally, it's either gonna be on the side of the church or in front of the church. Now, over here we're gonna meet a new kind of mob. It's those manifested shadow guys, right? Now, obviously, a lot of stuff in this dungeon hits the tank really badly, okay? But that's a tank defensive thing. If you are a tank, plan your defensive accordingly. Know that everything here hits you hard. They have enrages sometimes, and they do magic damage as well, so it's not a pleasant time. Okay, we took the pack here, right? We have this Voidwalker thingy. What this mob does is it just casts something and puts a lot of purple puddles on the floor around one player. You dodge those, because if you get hit by puddles, you die. And sometimes, when it's low, right? Actually, when it probably ran out of mana or something, it's gonna cast Dark Flows. This is a big pulsating AoE to everyone. Usually, you should be able to kill them before they cast this, but know that if they cast this, you need some major defensives, because it does a lot of damage. Because usually you don't pull only one, you pull more than one. Okay, back to the dungeon. Oh, I wanted to also showcase the other kind of caster mob that we have here. It's a dark caster, yeah, right? It casts a beam, it just does damage. This is important to be interrupted or stopped. You don't want beams just going off killing your team, right? And it also has an umbral barrier. This is also a cast. If it casts it, it puts a shield on himself, and if the shield is not damaged, it heals him up. So basically the shield is permanent, honestly. Not sure if it interacts with healing reduction so that it gives less HP if you have healing reduction on it, but usually it should never happen that this is a problem, right? If you want to interrupt something, definitely interrupt Tormenting Beam, and if there are no Tormenting Beams, then you go for the barrier. Yeah, it's not something huge. Okay. Oh, it also has Abyssal Rot, which is like a dop on someone, but just doesn't do that much damage. Okay, after you fight those guys in this particular route, you'll go through the church, you'll fight two of them. We elect to pull big. See, when you have a lot of mobs like that in a pack, generally it's a good idea to just use your stun. It just helps everyone. Use it. Ideally, you interrupt stuff with it when it finished casting and it started channeling like the beam, because then it's not gonna recast. But in general, if you see something like that, you wait for like a few seconds for people to start interrupting and get their interrupts on cooldown, and then you stun. That's kind of the basic idea, and just AoE. Okay, see the barrier here went off, and in like 2 seconds the shield was just destroyed, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. Now, when the beam goes off, again, does some damage, but usually you should have enough interrupts. Now, we fight those, we kill them, not that big of a deal. Oh, I wanted to say something here. So, notice how in that particular room, and well, every room in this church when you are inside of it, you have like the room like this, yeah? and outside there's like a pack of 3 mobs. When the tank pulls the 3 mobs from here, the caster will always stay behind because for some reason it can cast through walls. It can't be line of sighted with the church. I don't really understand how and why. Maybe it can be line of sighted like over here or something, but definitely not in this room. So when there is a pack like this pulled and you notice that there's a caster behind there, do the ethical thing and go and interrupt it, right? See over here, I notice it, and the tank was faster than me. He just interrupted it, and it's now coming together to be AoE'd now. Alright. Let's go to the mini-boss. Of course, I usually like killing these affix before pulling stuff, but people sometimes just go and pull stuff. It doesn't matter either way, as long as it dies and it doesn't give everything 90%, yeah, it's fine. Alright. Now, after this is done, we have this mini-boss, right? All of those 3 mini-bosses that we're gonna fight have an ability that the boss does. This particular one, and well, all of them also have a really nasty single target dot, okay? So what those mini-bosses do, this one in particular, has one single target dot that gets put on someone. That dot does crazy, insane amounts of damage. If you get that, you just wanna insta-pop a defensive. There's no reason not to. You also want the healer to spot heal you. It's very important as a healer to spot heal that debuff, because that person without a heal is just gonna drop dead, and that's not good. This one is the Terrifying Slam mini-boss, right? What it's gonna do, it's gonna do a big circle around the tank, right? And you don't want to be caught in it when it finishes casting, because it's gonna fear you and do a lot of damage to you. To the tank, it does not fear the tank, but it knocks him back. So this is why you can see the tank is positioned here, kinda with his back against the wall, because if you have your back against the wall when you're knocked back, you're not gonna get knocked back as much, and it won't be as annoying to move, right? And you'll have more uptime on the boss as well. But yeah, if you have immunities, you can stand in it and it won't fear you, but that's not really what immunities are for in general. You kinda want them for the dot, honestly, if you're struggling. See, it does this thing, it knocked him back, kinda. He's like in a smart spot, it might not knock him back except just tiny little bit. See, it put the dot on the decay, and the decay instantly AMS'd it, right? Because he does not want to take a lot of damage from it. But yeah, this is pretty much what you do in the church. You then go outside, depending on the route, and boom. Now, this is a very problematic place in the dungeon, usually, right? Because it's very important for the tank to be fast, but if the tank is slow and the DPS goes there, you'll go here, you'll see no tank, and you'll be scared. You won't know what to do, because you can't just go into the mobs like the tank does. But also, if the tank is too fast and the DPS is too slow, it starts casting this AoE while you're in the air, like I'm right now. So it's important to coordinate with your group and be fast here. There is a safe spot. It's around here, right, where I have my mouse. You can land around there and not aggro anything usually, and I don't know, if it's an emergency you can land on this strip here, because there's only 2 mobs that don't really do much and don't do that much damage, and that's relatively safe if you want to land somewhere quick to wait for people and whatnot. So here, pretty safe. Just be careful not to aggro them before the tank, and as the tank you have to go there fast. Now this boss has, this mini-boss captain has the AoE ability of the second boss. From time to time, it's just gonna do a lot of AoE pulsing damage to the team. You want defensives, you want healer cooldowns, so like shamans, your links, your ascendances, disc priests, your barriers. Everyone just has to weave those defensives on every cast of this. It also comes with 2 really nasty mobs that do a lot of damage to the tank, so the tank must be on point when he lands, especially because he might be alone there for like 2 seconds or 3 seconds before everyone's regrouped. He must be on point with defensives. You cannot, as a tank, go here with no defensives, because the mobs will just and you'll drop on the floor before the healer has landed. Alright. Now, fortunately, I managed to live. My imp here pulled those two mobs. The tank is not very grateful for that. I don't think he intended on us to pull this. But yeah, if this happens, it's pretty bad. Some pools have those guys, but you don't want to do this unless the tank has a lot of defensive available, because those mobs also slap him, and he might just drop down after a while, and you don't want that. Anyway, this mob also has the dot that's really annoying and does a lot of damage and needs to be spot healed, but other than that, it's just straightforward smash, smash. Oh, and you have those two mobs that do a purple frontal. That purple frontal just one-shots you, so do not stay in it. Yeah, see, that's the purple frontal. We somehow managed to stabilize this and just kill it. See, Shadow Decay, I popped the defensive. Well, I popped it earlier, but should be fine. Yeah. What you need to take away from this is be organized with how you're flying. Find this safe spot around here if you're early and your tank is, I don't know, just admiring the view. As a tank, have defensives and you should be golden. Use defensives and AoE heals on the big AoE. Alright. Now, the next and final mini-boss, as you can see, is gonna have the final ability of the boss. I'll get to that in a moment. You see this kinda odd house here and this wall? You want to end up between those. If you fly between those, there is a safe spot there, like almost in the middle between the wall and the house, where you can land and you will not pull everything. So this is a really nice spot in this dungeon, because usually for the other parts you kind of fly around, you don't know if you pulled, where's the tank, what's happening. Here you already know, you can go straight down and you'll be safe. The spot is, see, right here, in between. You can't be too close to this part because you'll aggro those, and you can't be too close to the gate here because there's a patrolling mob that's gonna aggro, so you don't want to be here. Here is already starting to cut it close, so it's kinda, the sweet spot is kinda, you know, around this lamp, around this gate. This is safe. Just land here. This is the third and final mini-boss. What it does is, other than the annoying dot, it fixates a player. That player gets fixated with an orb, which spawns after like, I don't know, 4-ish seconds. And from the boss towards that player, it's gonna get launched, like a bowling ball, right? You do not stand in it. And as a melee, it's important, you do not stand where it spawns either. If you stand in it, it's gonna put a really nasty dot on you, and you will almost surely die from it. Like, you'll just, yeah, not good. Another thing is you want to aim this bowling ball to go away from the party, to go like really, really far away. So you can't aim it here, because it's gonna explode in a wall. You can't aim it here because it's going to explode in this wall. You can't aim it here either. There are some spots towards there, but as you can see, it's just not practical to do it. If you know how to do it, but standard is you aim it along this nice path, right? If the ball is on you, you just put it on the center of this path, towards the back, towards the wall. Well, not towards the wall, towards the gate in the wall, obviously, but you know what I mean, right? And you just put it like this. We'll see it happen in a bit. It's in 10 seconds over there. See, I have the dot. I instantly press this small defensives I have. It's not enough, obviously. This is a big dot, needs a big defensive. See, now the orb is spawning, right? You do not stand in it as a melee, because you'll get the debuff, and it does a lot of damage. You just move out of the way and try to find a pixel over here where you can damage the boss from, right? Now, as a range, you just move out of the way, the ball passes, and you move back afterwards, because you don't want to move randomly. Now, when the ball has reached its destination, it's gonna explode in some AoE on the team. So be prepared for that too. Like if you see the ball and it goes and it goes and it goes and you're at low HP, use a pot, use something, because it's gonna damage you and you might die. See, here. Here it just went boom. Did a fair bit amount of damage. The further away it goes, I think the less damage it does. That's why you don't want it to explode here, because then it just wipes you. Okay, now, after we killed everything here, tank just takes a silly route through here. We take a lot of percent, we just kill everything. All of the mobs here I've already explained what they do, right? And we go to the standard spot. You can fight the boss here, it's no problem. You can fight him there as well. Usually this path, this is where you want to aim the orb, right? This boss does all the abilities of the other mobs, except it also has one ability that just summons a lot of small mobs that cost annoying stuff that you have to kill. So let's just see how the fight plays out, right? The paladin just pulls it here. Okay, first, coming up here, the dark orb, right? It's on me. I just place it along the path there. And I'm out. It's gonna explode at some point. See, this is the tank thing. Oh, the tank tanks him here because he likes standing with his back against the fountain so he doesn't get knocked back. Yeah, that's why he's tanking it here. It's a cool trick, I guess, but see, it still knocks him back a little. Okay, now, this is the big AoE, like from the mini-boss. We have the Death Knight AMZing us, which is nice. And after this, we'll have Animate Shadows, right? Animate Shadows is gonna select a player, and that player is gonna spawn a lot of smalls. This is why, out of an ethical consideration towards the melee and the tank and everyone in the party, as a ranged player, you want to move close to melee towards the boss so that you spawn the adds near the boss so that everyone can cleave them down and not have them in China. You don't want them in China. Not a lot of people can do damage to them in China, and it's not that nice. See, the mage here got selected. He's kinda close to the boss, so it works. But it would have been ideal if he was even closer, right? Anyway. After that he does orb, tank, more AoE. But he's just gonna be dead soon, so it's whatever. You can see orb again. Animate Shadow again. See, now he's too far away. See, now it's an issue, because our Death Knight friend here can't hit them. That's why you always go into the boss before this cast. The cast is called Animate Shadows. You can see it here on your boss modes, depending on what you use. Okay. After you've killed this boss and got enough percent, notice we have 98%. That is too much percent. You want around, well, exactly 93.5, I think, but or 92.5. Let's see. The guy here gives 6.5%, so you need exactly 93.5% when you go up. 98%, more than fine. More than fine. You go up there and you fight this odd mini boss, right? Now, this mini boss is a bit annoying. It's gonna summon 3 adds in sets of 3. And it also has that ability that targets 2 players and does damage to them. You know, the pulsing one from the beginning of the dungeon. The idea here is that you do not want to be overrun by the 3 adds that it summons. So you kinda want to gather everyone up so you can cleave them down before the next set comes. Because if you just have a lot of adds at the same time, they're just gonna cost stuff on you and wipe you, kind of like that. You don't want that to happen. That's why it's important to do the interrupts. Tank has to get aggro, they get clumped up, they get cleaved down. Easy. Let's see what happens here. Yeah. I use my cooldown. It's a good idea to use cooldown here, by the way, because you're gonna get it back for the boss. If you kill it too fast, you might not get it back, but if you kill it too fast, it doesn't really matter if you didn't get it back, because, well, you're blasting.
No! They've sent a force back up and retaken the Dawnbreaker!
Yeah, see, it does this eruption. Do like a defensive if it targets you, because you can't really do much about it. Then it just calls reinforcements, right? See, the Death Knight grips it in, everything's inside, they just get melted. Our damage is kinda big for a 10, but you can get the idea. Now, if you kill it fast enough, it's not gonna summon the third set of reinforcements, but usually it does manage to do it. You have to kill it before this casts, right? This ends. And we just barely managed to do it, but it still casts, so now we have to fight those. Oh, they despawned. Okay, so that's fine. Alright. Kill those. Now we fight this boss, that's also raid boss. It's pretty simple, straightforward boss. Okay. So, one crucial mechanic in this boss fight is one person is gonna get targeted by the green line, right? The green line has a abrupt green part and the fading green part, okay? The line will be launched from the abrupt side to the fading side. You'll see what I mean when the boss fight plays. Now you want to take that line and put it to the side towards which it is launched so that you do not hit your team with it. You will get stunned a bit when it's launched. Everyone getting hit by it gets stunned and takes damage, and you don't want that. Definitely don't want that. It also does a frontal. It's just spews like some circles on the ground, and just dodge that. It also starts spitting some AoE damage at fixed intervals. When it does that, it will also put a dot on you. It's more so the dot that does more damage than the initial hit from the AoE. So if you want to use a personal defensive on that thing, use it towards the end of the cast rather than towards the beginning. It's still fine if you use it at the beginning, because it's decent damage even from the straight up hit. You kind of want to have some healer cooldowns, like again, Link, Ascendance, whatever cooldowns as a healer. You want to use some of them for each one of those big AoEs. Now, in phase 1 of the fight, you're up here, there will be some bombs. There will be 2 sets of 3 bombs. What you want to do, as a DPS player, is you want to take those bombs, or as a healer, take those bombs, go near the boss, select the boss, and use the extra action button to launch the bomb into the boss. If you don't select the boss, it won't launch it towards him. Also, if you have an immunity on you, like Death Knight Anti-Magic Shell, you cannot pick the bomb until the immunity faded, because the bomb counts as a debuff and it cannot be applied to you. Okay, if not all 3 bombs are sent into the boss before they explode, they will explode and do massive damage to your party, usually resulting in a wipe if everyone is not overgearing the dungeon, or prepared and using a lot of defensives and just committing everything just to survive this easily prevented hiccup. Now this was phase 1, let's see it play out. Alright, just pull. The boss is always gonna stand there, the tank has to be in melee with it, or otherwise he just casts a really big AoE on the team and wipes you, so the tank doesn't really have a choice. See, this is the frontal, boom, avoid. See, this is the line, right? As you can see, you have the line, and it ends abruptly, and it kind of fades towards that direction, right? This means that when the line hits me, it's gonna be launched towards that direction. So I should take it to that side. I just take it to that side. You get stunned. Easy. Of course, have to deal with the affix. See, now we have the AoE, right? Notice, it doesn't do that much damage as it hits you, right? Now, I'm taking a lot of damage because I have the speed activated, I have this debuff from the line, and I have this debuff as well. I should use the defensive, but I don't have it. the healer should keep me up, or I should Healthstone, Health Pot, whatever. It's a pretty dicey spot to be in after you get the wave. You kind of want to use your personal there usually. But it's fine. Get kept up. Kind of. Pick up a bomb. I get this again. See, this time I kind of moved in a diagonal so that other people can dodge me, because they would know that I'm kind of there in the last second. I do believe I might have hit this mage, but I'm not sure. Ideally, this was more clutch. You shouldn't do this. You should obviously not pick up the bomb until you're sure you don't get the wave. Put the wave there. But doing this fast isn't that big of a deal either. See, this almost exploded, but we're fine. Okay, now the fight repeats. Gonna have another big AoE. Another stun. As you can see, me and the mage are kind of working hard because our Death Knight friend is just doing damage to the boss, but that's fine. As long as the bombs end up in the boss, it doesn't matter who takes them. One guy can take all three, three guys can take three. Depends on how fair you want to make the fight. Now, when the final boss hits, when the final bomb hits the boss, it's gonna fly away, and you want to follow it with your mount. Now, you'll have this mechanic where if you do not take enough orbs, you're gonna die. However, in practice, what you do is you go up and you notice where the boss final room is gonna be. And the final room, because the boat flies around, you may not be in this exact spot always, but a good thing to do is to find this gate, you know, this circle here. You find it, you start dragon riding through it and just spamming your surge forward because you have it completely, and you will be fine even if you do not take circles. See, because in this area you're safe, right? I take some circles for fun and then I just go. Surge, 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 surge. See, the debuff up here, this is what kills you if it expires and you don't have the yellow debuff. But it's plenty of time to just reach this place and boom, you land, you're safe. Now you just wait for the boss. And here you won't have the bombs anymore, but you'll have another mechanic. You'll have some circles that get put around two players. Those two players will have to put those circles on the sides, because when those circles expire, they do some damage and they leave a puddle of web. If you stand in the puddle of web, you will take damage. Now, when you break out of the puddle of web the first time after you've had the circle, you'll also take some damage. So be careful with that. Pop some stuff if you need to, so you don't die from popping it. And the puddles will stay on the floor, the web, so it's gonna get more and more cramped. But when the line from phase 1 happens, if the line passes through the puddles, it's gonna clear them and leave a smaller puddle of green stuff, which also does a lot of damage. So on this fight, if somehow the whole platform, usually in melee, gets covered with those puddles of web, it might be a smart idea sometimes to just use the line to clear up everything, just to clear up the puddles in melee so that melees don't stand in web. But generally, otherwise you still want to send it to the sides so it doesn't hit everyone. But that's the exception. Anyway, it takes like a long ass time to come. It comes down and the fight starts. See, those are the puddles, taking them to the sides and just eating out to break them. See, it does a bit of damage to me, and when they break, see, they do some damage, so be careful with that, with breaking. It should not be an issue until higher keys probably, so it's whatever. Just don't break it if you have like no HP and the health pot available. Use the health pot and then break it. That's the point. Or a defensive.
Embrace who you
Right. Still does the frontal. See, erosive spray. This is the AoE. It's gonna come in. And boom. See, we've committed the healing cooldown here. Now, we're unlucky because the line goes towards this side, and we kind of wanted it to go to the other side, but it's whatever. Now, again, see, it just gets more and more clumped up if you don't clear it with the lines, but should be fine. Get the AoE, and I don't think we'll get another line, but I don't know. We shall see. Yeah. We just get circles. Maybe? No, the timer was wrong. Anyway, as you can see, when the line passes through those, it just makes a big bubble and then it leaves a small puddle. And that's how you kind of clear so you don't run out of throw. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed me mumbling about mechanics for I don't know how long. Ideally, you should be able to learn something from this, I hope. If not, leave a comment saying that I suck. Anyway, see you guys next time.